Hello everyone, and welcome to another beer review. And today we're actually finally getting back on the Belgian series because we've got loads of Belgian beers left to basically go through. And the problem is those some are quite high in alcohol content just because it's the nature of them. And obviously I'm going to kind of spread them. I can't sit there and do maybe 2 or 3 or 4 of them in the one go because God knows what the fourth one would be like. Review. Oh, it'll be just lots of me just bumping my gums and effing and jeffing. In fact, I've just done a review and it was so bad and I was so disappointed that I fired out the C word at the end. I was calling a mainstream brewer a bunch of. There you go. So that gives you an idea. So today we're actually going to do a Bornem, but we're going to do a double. And I think we did a double before. Have we done a double before? I honestly can't remember. But we're going to do a double. Now, this is just over £2. It's just over £2 or £2. It's 7.2%. And where's the bottle size? No, it was a bottle size. Oh, yes. And it's 330 ml. So, is there any stuff in the back of it? Oh, there is. Right, so Bornem Double is an Abbey beer brewed with re-fermentation. The beer is warm, dark brown, and has a soft, fruity flavour, reminiscent of grain. There you go. And of course, it's brewed in Belgium, product Belgium, blah 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 blah. And it's a Vanstenberg brewery. That's Bornem. There you go. So yes. So let's crack it open and see what it's like. So yes, look forward to that beer review coming up with the C word in it. I'm sure I'll probably get complaints, but I don't really care. What the heck's going on here? Let's get it poured. Look at that. So let's set up. Look at that. I can make an analogy, but I'd probably get struck off. So, but yes, it's looking good. Oh, yes, I'm getting smells of fruit. Yes, getting dried fruit smells. And some malt. So, yes, look at that. So yeah, if you want a bit of a, how would you say it? Maybe to a point, maybe a bit emotional, because I was quite annoyed. But yeah, look out for the Doom Bar Zero review when it comes up, because yes, I wasn't holding back. They got both barrels of that one. It's just unbelievable. But I'm not going to go into it here. We're on to the Belgian. Now, yes, the thing is, of course, we did a triple. We did 2 triples. I think we did an original Belgian triple, and then we did, was it an Aldi kind of triple, which was actually kind of more like a double, as in alcohol content and how it was kind of brewed. Obviously, it's not dark and things like that. It was done like a kind of it was done like a triple, but just didn't have the strength and things like that. It was kind of toned back a bit, and it was kind of lacking. It was quite nice, but it wasn't a triple. And of course, we did a proper triple, and now we're actually doing a double. Although I think we've done another double before, but this is a nice, rich, dark double, which is very popular in Belgium. So it is, and I like them. So let's see if this is going to be a good one. Yeah. Well, it's got the flavours in. Definitely got the flavours in. Let's break this down. Right. Starts off you're getting a bit of malt at the start, and it's quite a light malt. And then you're starting to get some kind of fruity accents. But it's almost like kind of like dates, or a bit like dates and raisins type of scenario. But it's not sweet. You're getting the fruity tones, but there's not a real sweetness there. What there is a kind of underlying kind of greenish kind of earthiness from the front of the mouth right all the way through. So instead of that, you get a lot of the ones with that kind of malty sweetness all the way through. This doesn't. This have a more kind of earthiness going through it, running through it. So it's a kind of I wouldn't say bitterness, but it's there just to kind of take the edge off of everything. So it kind of just kind of holds back any sweetness. So there isn't really the sweetness there, but you are getting the fruit flavour. So it's quite nice because you're not getting that sickening kind of sweetness sometimes you get with the kind of dried fruit, because there's too much maybe malts in there and it kind of make the beer overly sweet and it kind of detracts from it. Whereas this, there is a kind of underlying, I wouldn't say sourness, but there's or bitterness, but there's an underlying kind of earthiness which just kind of holds back any kind of sweetness, so it doesn't get a chance to get out of control or become sickening. Moves on to the kind of mid-tongue, and again you're starting to get more of the kind of dry kind of fruit flavours, but they're not heavy fruit flavours, they're quite light. So they are kind of like slightly kind of raisinish kind of dates. They're not like the kind of like the richer stuff like plums, or again more of a kind of the syrupiness of the kind of apricots or things like that. It's quite light kind of dried fruits you're getting. And then the aftertaste. With aftertaste, you're getting slightly more syrupy, almost a kind of slight molasses kind of finish. So it goes from the kind of mid-tongue with the kind of fruity flavours, and they just kind of start to kind of melt together in the kind of the aftertaste, and just gives you this kind of slightly molasses feel to it. And yeah, so it gives it a kind of nice kind of syrupy finish, but again, not sweet, but not bitter either. It's just kind of like in between. It's like almost bitter, but not quite. And it just everything just kind of melts together just nicely. It just kind of flows. And that's one of the great things that I find with Belgian beers. There's a start, a middle, and an end. There always is with Belgian beers, which is good because that's what you want, a start, a middle, and the end. But it flows. Now you can get a lot of beers that are hyped up in the UK and across the world, and they're hyped up, and they're actually quite nice beers, but they don't really flow. It's like kind of slightly disjointed between like the start. The start doesn't feel like it's connected with the middle, and the middle doesn't feel like it's connected with the end. But that's what I find with the majority of Belgian beers that I've drunk. There is that kind of flow. And they think about that. They don't think, well, let's get some certain flavours in the beer. They do think about that. But the big thing is, how's it going to flow? How's it going to connect? That's the main thing. So I think a lot of the recipes and the processes is really about perfecting that kind of flow, getting the flavours they want, but getting them working together so that a lovely transition between front of the mouth, middle, tongue, and the aftertaste at the end. And that's like a nice little journey it takes it on, and they all feel connected. They all feel as if like they're all part of the same story. Whereas unfortunately a lot of beers are let down with it. Individually it's got some nice flavour profiles and things like that, but they just don't really work together, or they feel a bit disjointed and they're not really flowing from front of the mouth to the aftertaste. Just there's something lacking of them actually working together. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why the Belgians have such a good reputation for making beers and lots of different types of beer. Because that's one of the things is you've got the Czech Republic with a good reputation for making beers, but it's only kind of certain styles that they make. Same with Germany. Germany as well, they've got a good reputation for making certain types of beers, and they do make them very well, the same as the Czechs do. But they don't really make the variety of beers as the Belgians, and the Belgians really do make a hell of a lot of different styles of beers, but make them very well, including they make Scottish style beers. They make Scots beers, so they do in Belgium, and it's less hopped, more malt forward beers, and yeah, they basically take the kind of traditional Scottish brewing and techniques and recipes, and they add a little bit of kind of Belgique to it, and yeah, they're very nice. Now they are different from Scottish beers, of course they are, but there is accent. You can see the connection, and you can see that they've taken on board how the Scots have done it, and the lack of hops. Of course, at one point there was no hops at all in Scottish beers because we just didn't put hops in them because of our situation at the time was, well, we couldn't grow hops in Scotland, and we were always warring with England, so a lot of times they would say, well, bugger off, you're not getting any. From that point of view, in the Scots, like, that's fine, because we didn't want them in the first place. Typical Scots. So, that type of scenario, Yeah, cut your nose off to spite your face type scenario, so yeah. But yeah, so that's the situation I find with Belgian beers. Belgian beers, they're well brewed, but they believe in that flow. And I've spoken to Belgian brewers, and they believe that there's going to be a flow to it. There has to be. They shouldn't be an interruption. There shouldn't be a disconnect or a pause between you taking the sip and swallowing it. It should all be all part as one, and it's all part of the same experience, and they should all work together. And that's their kind of philosophy. Unfortunately, with certain beers around the world, you can see what they're trying to do. You can see what they're trying to achieve. But what they've done with the recipes, they've got the flavours they want, but they're not working together. Whereas this, as a good example, does. And yeah, I mean, you can just see how nicely brewed it is. There's a nice head to it. There's beautiful lacing of the glass. It's just nice and controlled. And it's rich, and it's syrupy, and it's a good one. I mean, this would be really good on a cold winter's night. It would be lovely. So it's strange because it's lighter than a porter and a stout, but there's so much flavour in it that I would probably say I would really push a porter and a stout, especially a porter for flavour. If you were looking at a fruit porter and this, I would probably say this is really pushing the fruit porter. Like, well, you think you got flavour? You think you have? Come on, let's see what you've got. Type scenario. It'd be like that. It'd be a challenge. So it's got the higher alcohol content than, say, the majority of porters. It's got bags and bags of flavour and body, bags and bags. But there's a lightness to it, which you don't get with porters. You see, so it's something that if you want the flavour, but you don't want something that's kind of maybe it's heavier or kind of as overworked as a porter, then this has got bags of flavour, but it has that kind of lightness to go with it, which just makes it a nice change. So you could probably drink more of these than you would of the porters if you're going for the equivalent, apart from obviously the alcohol content, which of course might come back and bite you in the backside because it's 7.2%. But one of the things is it's 7.2%, and I can try beers around about that from other countries, and you get that kind of alcohol vapour happening in the back of the throat, and you can feel it. You don't feel it with this. 7.2%. And one of the flavour profiles and one of the sensations you don't get is alcohol. There you go. So the whole point is the alcohol is a byproduct of making the beer that they want to make. They're not making the beer for that alcohol content. It's a byproduct, and because it's a byproduct, it shouldn't really have to be experienced. That's the kind of the Belgian way. You find a lot of Belgian beers are very, very high alcohol content, but you compare them with other high alcohol content beers from other countries, and yes, you're noticing the alcohol. It plays a big part in the flavour and the sensation and the experience of drinking it, but you don't really get that with a lot of the Belgian beers because it's not about the alcohol, it's about the flavour, it's about the feel, it's about the experience of drinking it, and alcohol isn't really the main part of that. So what would I give this? I'm whapping on here. What would I give this out of 10? For a nice fruity double with bags of flavour, lovely mouthfeel, just an absolute joy to drink, I'm going to give this an 8.5. I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. It's really, really nice. I would recommend it. If you don't like strong flavoured beers, then, and I'm talking about strong flavoured beers, is nothing to do with alcohol. Strong flavoured beers as it's got bags of flavour. If you don't really like darker beers with lots of kind of strong flavours, and of course this isn't hoppy in any way, shape or form, then this might not be for you. But if you do like stouts and you do like porters and you want to try something a bit different, then this has got lashings of flavour, but it's lighter than a porter and a stout. So it doesn't kind of bag you up, and it doesn't kind of, how would you say, sicken you either. That's another thing, because a lot of times, especially with porters, you'd be kind of sickened with it after, 2 or 3 of them. You think, I'm really getting sick of this kind of drinking experience, because it is going to be quite heavy and you just want something lighter. So this is an option. So yes, I would recommend it. Give it a go. It's Bornem Double. It's 7.2%. It's roughly about $2.30 a bottle. It's a 330ml bottle. 8.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Cheers and bye for now.